in Los Angeles, it's kind of like they want to sacrifice you.
Why are the big realms of good and evil, and they exist. They're as real as we are. Why are these realms slugging it out for the souls, the hearts and souls of mankind? And nobody dies for a lie. Nobody.
That's Mel Gibson, with no script, no character, to hide behind, sitting in front of a live mic on one of the largest platforms in the world, saying the thing Hollywood spent generations burying, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Mel isn't hinting here, he isn't wrapping it in metaphor, or sketching symbols in the air the way Jim Carrey did years earlier, leaving an audience to guess. He puts it in plain language. Faith against evil, sacrifice, who actually holds power in this business, and what they demand from anyone who once and for the first time, one of the most blacklisted names in modern Hollywood, is explaining on record why he was blacklisted in the first place before we reach what Mel told. Rogan, you need the backstory. None of this came out of nowhere. It was the final piece dropping into a puzzle that took decades to assemble. Rewind to 2014, Jim Carrey steps onto the Jimmy Kimmel stage-packed studio live, broadcast millions watching from home right there in front of all of them. He starts tracing shapes in the air. He calls it the all-seeing eye. Then he looks straight at Jimmy and tells him he belongs to something larger, something darker, something running the entire industry.
It is the all-mocking tongue. It's a symbol of the all-mocking tongue. Yeah, look at him trying to color it out. This is hilarious.
Laughter erupts, but here's what surfaced later. That laughter was added in editing. The actual room sat silent, not awkward, frozen, because every person in that studio understood what Jim Carrey was doing. He wasn't performing a bit, he was issuing a warning moments later. He pushed further. Talk show hosts exist to keep audiences laughing. Too hard to think straight, he said. Sitcom actors exist as distraction. The whole machine is engineered so you never stop long enough to ask the questions that matter. And the second he drifted toward actual names, the moment he stepped into territory that genuinely ends careers, his phone went off on air right then. The conversation collapsed, the curtain dropped, and Carrey never touched that subject on that stage again. Now jump ahead to Ellen's studio. Down on the floor, Carrey traces something that looks unmistakably like 666. Watch her face in that clip. It breaks. The smile disappears. She's rattled, and she knows precisely what just happened in front of her cameras, even while the crowd keeps clapping behind her. One marker and a grin dismantled the entire moment. No accusations, no raised voice, just a symbol scratched onto the floor of one of the biggest stages in television. And almost nobody watching from home had any idea what they just seen. Here's the message underneath it. People inside this business know, they know exactly what goes on. They simply choose silence. Then the ground shifted. Documents went public. Epstein's files, paperwork, records of what had allegedly been happening behind sealed doors for decades. Suddenly, every strange remark Carrey ever made snapped into focus. Not comedy warnings, because once the pattern becomes visible, you can't unsee it. Oprah built an image as the most trusted woman. Olive generous, nurturing a mentor. She founded a leadership academy for young girls in South Africa, and she elevated a self-proclaimed spiritual healer called John of God, brought him onto her show, repeatedly promoted him, handed him her global audience. Years later, that same man received a 99-year sentence. Authorities described a trafficking operation, a network that allegedly fed on vulnerable people. How does someone standing that close not know? Nobody wanted to ask the question out loud. Then came the school. A staff member accused of assaulting students. A second allegation. A third. 7 students suspended for harassing classmates, one after another. 2 clustered for coincidence. 2 structured to be random. Oprah stayed quiet until the story detonated in the press, and the timing unsettled people. Then it still does. At the opposite end of that equation stood Dave Chappelle. $50 million on the table, not because he was broke, because the machine wanted ownership, control. A man converted into a product
so much bigger than money.
He understood what cashing that check would cost. He'd watched it hollow out people around him. He'd studied the pattern. The instant you hand this system ownership of who you are, something begins. Your thinking fractures, your private life unravels, you become useful, manageable. You stop challenging, stop questioning, and start performing on command. Chappelle looked at $50 million and walked. He bought farmland. He flew to Africa. He refused to end up like the animal that grabs the bait and can't let go.
He's smart. All he does is let go with his soul.
Not everybody chose that road, and Mel Gibson never got the clean exit. Chappelle did. His refusal arrived later, and the bill came due in. Something bigger than money when he set out to make The Passion of the Christ. Every major studio slammed the door, every single one, because he wasn't simply shooting a film about Jesus. He was making a declaration about redemption, about sacrifice, about faith being real and mattering more than the industry itself.
There was a lot of opposition to it, and I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're gonna get people going, because
Of course.
it's big subject matter, and it's like And my contention is, when I was making it, it was like, you're making this film, and the idea was that we're all responsible for this, that his sacrifice was for all mankind.
$4 to $5 million came out of his own pocket. He financed the whole thing himself. And when that film pulled in over $600 million worldwide and became one of the biggest independent releases in history, Hollywood's answer was immediate. Bury him, label him unstable. Make sure nothing he says afterward ever carries weight again.
Christianity is the one religion that you're allowed to disparage.
Here's what separates Mel Gibson. He never went quiet, he didn't vanish, and he didn't cash the check and keep his mouth shut the way so many others did. He kept building films around faith. He kept defending what he believed from outside the walls. He kept watching the business and studying exactly how the machinery runs. Then he sat down across from Joe Rogan. Everything locks together in that room. Carrey's warning, Chappelle's refusal, Gibson's blacklisting, all of it snaps into focus through an entirely different lens, because Mel doesn't discuss this industry in code. He discusses it in scripture and theology, in the vocabulary of faith, evil, and spiritual warfare. That's what makes people uncomfortable.
He says, in New York, you might get mugged, or, they'll say F you, or, whatever. But in Los Angeles, it's kind of like they want to sacrifice you.
A man called Michael Murphy said that to him, not as humor, as a warning delivered by someone who had already been on the chopping block himself.
And I said, whoa, it sort of blew my mind that he said that.
Los Angeles got him in his 20s, hopeful, hungry, ready to build something. Within a few months, though, he began noticing things. Odd power plays, dynamics that didn't add up, people behaving in ways he couldn't rationalize. Nobody explained the rules. Nobody laid out the game he'd walked into.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on, because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
So he sat with it. He observed. He drew his own conclusions. Then he did the one thing almost nobody does when they're young, frightened, and buried. Inside a system they can't decode, he walked out.
I bought a farm, and I grew organic vegetables, and I raised cattle, and I milked a cow, and the whole thing, And that lasted about a year and a half.
Remembering who he actually was required distance, enough distance to finally see the shape of the machine, to name the thing he'd been sensing but couldn't put into words. When he returned as a different man, not someone desperate for approval, not someone willing to trade pieces of himself for access. His eyes were open to what this industry really is underneath the lights. Here's what he grasped that so many around him never did. Entertainment isn't only a business, it's spiritual. It runs on a level far beyond money and power.
Why are the big realms of good and evil, and they exist? They're as real as we are. Why are these realms slugging it out for the souls, the hearts and souls of mankind?
That isn't for Gibson is looking at Rogan and saying, real forces operate inside this industry, forces you can't see fighting for control over human consciousness and the choices people make.
Why are we the meat in that sandwich? Little old us, flawed us, imperfect us. Why?
Why can't people see it? Rogan asks it directly, and Mel doesn't reach for politics. He never wanders into conspiracy language. His answer is faith. Without it, he says, the thing stays invisible. You can't process it. You stay locked in the material. World hunting for surface explanations for something operating far below the surface. That's how Oprah could champion a man later convicted of trafficking. That's how a studio ends a career the moment an actor refuses to bend. That's why hosts exist, to keep you laughing so hard you never form a real question. Silence, obedience, and the slow erosion of Your own conscience, the system runs on all three, view it spiritually, instead of materially, and every piece falls into place. The sacrifice is the symbolism, the strange on-camera moments that never quite add up. A phone call that kills a conversation at precisely the wrong second. The blacklists, the wild accusations aimed at anyone telling the truth. The rapid promotion of everyone willing to keep quiet. One, structure one, machine, all of it connected. And then came the other thing Mel said, the part that actually matters, the reason his appearance landed as hard as it did.
But as I got older, I came to it through intellect and through reading and putting things together in accounts, and then occurrences like in my own life.
That isn't for Gibson is looking at Rogan and saying, real forces operate inside this industry, forces you can't see fighting for control over human consciousness and the choices people make.
Why are we the meat in that sandwich? Little old us, flawed us, imperfect us.
Why can't people see it? Rogan asks it directly, and Mel doesn't reach for politics. He never wanders into conspiracy language. His answer is faith. Without it, he says, the thing stays invisible. You can't process it. You stay locked in the material. World hunting for surface explanations for something operating far below the surface. That's how Oprah could champion a man later convicted of trafficking. That's how a studio ends a career the moment an actor refuses to bend. That's why hosts exist, to keep you laughing so hard you never form a real question. Silence, obedience, and the slow erosion of your own conscience. The system runs on all three, view it spiritually instead of materially, and every piece falls into place. The sacrifice is the symbolism, the strange on-camera moments that never quite add up. A phone call that kills a conversation at precisely the wrong second. The blacklists, the wild accusations aimed at anyone telling the truth. The rapid promotion of everyone willing to keep quiet. One, structure one, machine, all of it connected. And then came the other thing Mel said, the part that actually matters, the reason his appearance landed as hard as it did.
And nobody dies for a lie. Nobody.
Belief, not politics, is where he anchors the whole argument. Conspiracy is a word he never touches, and that's deliberate. The moment you call something a theory, you've handed people permission to laugh and walk away. Nobody dies for a lie. 5 words, that's the line that gave the entire conversation its weight. The apostles, he points out, every single one of them chose execution over denying what they had witnessed, what they lived through, what they knew to be real. Torture didn't break them, prison didn't break them, death didn't break them, because the truth outweighed their own survival. Men defend a comfortable lie right up until the moment it costs them something real. Then they drop it. Nobody walks toward their own execution protecting a story they invented. Gibson applies that same test to Hollywood. Look at who pays and what they pay. With Carrey, surrendered his standing, his credibility, the easy career waiting for him. Chappelle surrendered $50 million and vanished to another continent.